Good evening.
All over the world as per the country's time zone. So we are going to start this virtual global doctors meeting. The topic of the meeting is global doctors leadership in the time of COVID-19 crisis and a path towards recovery and prevention from the pandemic. So I will just say the name of the doctors who are already in the Zoom meeting. They are Dr. Dilli Banjare from New South Wales, Australia. Dr. Leong Ying, nuclear physicist from United States. Dr. Kevin Moore, National Health Service, United Kingdom. Dr. Siba Podel from New Zealand. Dr. Rajesh Chandra Joshi from South Korea. Dr. Lochan Karki, Nepal Medical Association Central President from Nepal, Kathmandu. Dr. Pushporaj Bhatrai from South Africa. Dr. Sunita Parajuli from NY, US.
Hello.
Dr. Keshav Podel from New Mexico, United States.
Namaskar Sabalai, greetings.
Dr. Muhammad Rahman from NYU Medical Center, New York. Dr. Jayesh Patel, New Jersey, United States. Dr. Sachin Gurung from United Kingdom.
Namaste, everyone.
And Dr. Subhangini Rai from United Kingdom. So now I would like to introduce the chairperson of Girija Prasad Koirala Foundation, Kathmandu, Nepal, and she is the former Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal and former Foreign Minister of Nepal, Honorable Sujata Koirala, for her welcome remarks.
Thank you. And good evening to everybody.
Sorry, I wasn't getting time.
I would request you all to mute your microphone at this moment. Let the speaker only unmute the microphone.
I express my sincere thanks and appreciation to health workers, security personnel, doctors, nurses for their dedication and commitment who are protecting us from the front line. We are deeply grateful to you for all the sacrifices that you and your family are making so that you can take care of your people who are suffering from virus. You are truly the heroes of the COVID-19 pandemic. I welcome you all in this virtual debate and discussion of your leadership in combating the global outbreak of coronavirus. The people from all over the world will gain knowledge from each of your expertise and experiences in the prevention of this kind of dangerous virus. I look forward listening to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sujata Koirala, Chairperson of GPK Foundation America, Central Chairperson from Nepal, Kathmandu, and former Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal and former Foreign Minister of Nepal for your welcome remarks. I would like to start with Dr. Leong Ying to share your expertise and experience on this COVID-19 crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sana, for arranging this very important session and for inviting me. Blessing to Honorable Deputy Prime Minister Sujata Koirala, who I met here in New York. I'm thankful. I will try not to take up too much time because there's such an impressive collection of experts here, medical experts, that I'd like to hear a considerable amount. As I said, I'm actually a physicist. And what's a physicist doing on this channel? Well, in a way, the data is what's driving the approach of nations in the right direction or the wrong direction. For example, in the UK, Kevin Moore is probably aware of this, fully aware. The UK started off with a scheme which was similar to the Swedish plan, which was pretty much a, not a lockdown like the rest of the world approach. But based on analysis, in this case by the Imperial College, which was pretty dire analysis, they flipped the nation's policy over to a complete lockdown system. So the data and how the data is analyzed and presented is obviously having a major impact on how COVID is being tackled right now. Now, I have to be totally upfront that at the beginning, from the very beginning, when I was looking at analysis, my camp was more on this is no more severe than the common flu, okay? So before people jump down my throat saying, I'm fully aware of the data and I continue to analyze it. And to be honest with you, the data and analysis has been going up and down, that even I've been considering, was I wrong? And then one moment, I was right. So you base it on the data from Italy, you base it on the data from Spain, or this is a disaster, whatever. And then you look at the data from Germany, no, the mortality rate is only 0.37%. Or Stanford research recently, a month ago, we believe their data, which I do because they do comprehensive tests, all the mortality rates down to 0.1. So that has been part of the problem, to be honest with you, is how the data is being analyzed and interpreted. Is the Swedish model the correct model, which is pretty much treat this as a common flu and let's be, or the complete, draconian approach that China approach, which is basically lock everyone into a room and basically nail the door shut. I think both extreme is not the healthiest. So what is the best mode? Well, to be honest with you, I'd love to hear that from all of you, but I already told you what my personal opinion is. And to be honest with you, I believe the current data, yes, over 300 have died, blah, 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 et cetera, but when you consider it, 1.3 million dies on the road each year, TB killed 1.5 million every year, 800,000 die of suicide. So is this cure that we are preventing, the 300,000, is that going to increase the number of suicides that's going to come? Are we going to get 1-2 million that's going to die because everyone's out of job, no work, blah, blah, blah? So is the treatment worse than the cure? So obviously, as a physicist and mathematician, I will analyze the result. And in the cold light of day, I am due to give a major presentation in China in November. Maybe by then, I will have enough data to make the concrete conclusion myself. So I don't claim I have, because I can only feed from the data that's given me. And right now, the data, depending on who you take it from, is all over the place, to be quite honest. Now, on the other side, on the more practical side, I am working with other organizations to supply the best test kit, because I'm sure all of you will agree with me. The only way we're going to tackle this disease is really not, is it a lockdown? Is it not lockdown? It's by testing. If we don't test, we are not going to be able to know the reality of the disease. So I am working with a major international organization to supply a sample test kit to Africa. Right now, Africa, thank God, is one of the least hit continents, but that could be climatic, could be various reasons, but they are preparing it. So I'm working with such organization to have them prepare the rapid auto antibody test kit for them to test at their border, etc. Again, you guys are the expert on that, so I'm not going to go into the details of various tests that's available out there at this time. So my job is to analyze the data and give the code calculating result. Yes, it's like a horse is already bolted and we're closing the stable door. But we believe that the pandemic can come back later this year, next year, and maybe for the 3 years. Maybe the data that physicists like me can analyze can give the government and we, the people, the right policy to advocate at the end of this year, at next year, or the 3rd year. So I will do that, and I will work with my other organization to ensure that we supply the necessary equipment, the necessary medical equipment for the poor of this world, so they are not left behind. This is a real serious, it's not whether the rich can afford it, it's whether the nations of Africa, Asia, etc., that we do not leave the poor behind, saying that, oh, only the rich can, be saved here. No, that's not the way we should go about this. So that's what I have to say. I thank you all of the doctors that have been on the front line tackling this disease. Your courage is commendable. I have no courage. I'm sitting in front of my computer at home, comfortably analyzing data, so I can be safe while you guys are all on the front line. So God bless you all. Be safe, and let's get over this together and help humanity survive this pandemic. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Leong Ying, for your valuable information and sharing your experiences, that we can gain some knowledge. And we still want your updates to everyone in our emails. Please send us our email blast so that everyone can get more knowledge from you. Thank you again. Now, thank you so much for both doctors for clarifying that. Next, we have a question for Leong Ying. You mentioned earlier that Swiss model of COVID-19 test kits is more effective than any other test kit. What is this economic way? How is it? Is it cheaper or is better? Well, why do you mention that? Can you please clarify?
Well, thank you for that question. So as a few of the other doctors mentioned, and correctly, we're not going to tackle the disease unless we can test it, unless we know what this disease is doing in our society. So testing is the number one. That's the reason why I worked in Australia. That's the reason why I worked in New Zealand. That's the reason why I worked in Germany. Okay, so it's testing. Okay, so obviously there's two types of tests. I'm not going to go into detail because these experts know better. There's basically the DNA testing of the sequence of the RNA. The problem with that is that's very sophisticated. It takes a long time. It's expensive. You need a professional lab, pretty much manned by PhD technician that needs to make sure that every single sequence, every preparation is done. That may be okay here in America, in UK, in New Zealand, but that is not what you're going to get in a lot part of the world, the problem. So the other testing is the antibody. Now there's various variety, but those are the two essence. The DNA, which is obviously the most accurate one, but it's the most expensive, the longest, and you need expert, and then the antibody. So with the group that I'm working with Galaxy and Future Trends, one of the big issues, I'm working with Africa. I'm not going to go into detail because that's confidential where we're working with, but a lot of the issue is the migrant at the borders. There are people flowing at the borders and how that is done is obviously a refugee issue. The commerce, cargo, is that they need a test that they can do and get a result immediately. You can't hold someone at the border and say, wait 3 or 5 days at the border while we get the result. It's just not practical. So obviously the only viable test is the antibody test. Now it is a new test. There's obviously part of that problem is because it's new. There's a lot of false positive, false negative. So the reality is the test a good test or bad test? Obviously, the test kit we are using, we believe is a clinically tried test. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to be publicizing it, so I don't want to use this as like a publicity platform. Those that are interested, you can contact me. So that's the test kit that we are supplying samples right now to various African nations, so they can have a rapid positive, negative test. So as many of the views said, information data exchange is the most important. So with the test result, and again, I'm not going to say our antibody test kit is the best in the world. We have the clinical trials. FDA's approval do not take years and years to approve. So like the CDC, they have allowed an emergency authorization use for these antibody tests, where they develop in the US, where they develop in Europe, where they develop in China. It's all the same. Is these antibody tests have only been evolved in the last few weeks. So I'm not going to be here saying my test or that test is the best. We really, really don't know. That's the problem with the disease. As mentioned, this is a novel thing. We are getting the information. I mean, obviously, by the end of the year, hopefully we will have the full information regarding the test, the full information regarding the mortality, the severity of it. As Dr. Pudar said, he's absolutely right. You know, I cannot be, you know, the God figure that sits here and says, I know everything, everything's right. I told you, I'm just sitting in front of my computer. It's not for me to play, well, you know, my data is better than your data, et cetera, et cetera. We all don't know. So that's why we all need to exchange. And that's why this platform is absolutely must. And we should have this on a regular basis. So you have brought the whole world, Africa, Europe, Asia, US, on this. And that's exactly what we need. We need experts. And these are amazing experts that I'm hearing from, that I'm learning from, to exchange the information. Only by exchanging information, only by getting the necessary data, by doing the test, will we ultimately find the right solution to hopefully terminate this disease, end of this year, next year, or third year, whatever it is. So I hope that answers your question, is that we are promoting the antibody, because the nations that need it needs rapid result, not in 3-5 days a week. They need result immediately, because they're trying to counter the issues at the border, and you cannot hold millions of people at the border indefinitely. It's just not practical. And at least of the diseases, we have to be practical. We have to be socially, and that's why, yeah, I brought up the comparison with the flu and car accident. But in a year, 2 years, we'll have to treat this just like that. Is this like car accident? Is this like flu? What do we do? Do we continue this panic for 3 years and collapse the entire world? I mean, is that reality? Or do we treat it like, oh, it's just a car accident? Yeah, a lot of people are going to die, but a lot of people died in car accident. So we have to, as a society, as a world, we have to determine that. And that's only going to come through information, through experts like you have brought on this panel to tell the world the truth, the fact, and to analyze it. And I am blessed to be among such panels of experts that you have brought. Thank you very much.
And again, Dr. Ying, there is another question I just saw here on the window.
I have a quick
From
question
Sachin Gurung, Dr. Sachin Gurung. Is there a particular window when the test is most accurate?
Again, there's obviously various tests that, like in the antibody, for example, there are various determining on which supply. Again, I'm not going to go into detail because I'm not here marketing who's
right.
Yeah. I'm not a commercial platform. But some will say, well, this can do a positive test, give you a positive result within the first 3 to 5 day window of infection. And others will say, well, this test will be 5 to 8 days. But a lot of that is not just determined on the sensitivity, but it's also determined, like example, how much of the viral particle are you swiping? It is a complex issues that is determined. How much are you actually determined? How many days activity? But in the antibody, typically to get enough antibodies in the body, the typical data suggests that you need at least 3, 5, or even as many as 8 days before you can get a reliable test. But that's determined by the test itself, by who's applying the test. So there's a lot of parameters. But again, a lot of this is we're just finding out. These tests are only been involved a few weeks. So a lot of this is the expert like these on the panel. These are the experts that needs to tell us, that say, well, this is how you test it, this is how you swipe it, this is etc. And this is the result that you need to wait. You need to wait at least 3 days for a positive result. Those are all data that need to be fully analyzed and assessed. So I cannot give you a concrete result, but based on the analysis of various tests that I've seen, it is very variable. And a lot of that variability is we just don't know. It's a simple answer.
Somnath, can I supplement a little bit here?
Yes.
So for the current knowledge and practice, we do the real-time PCR to check disease on the day 1. So antibody test at least takes 5 to 7 days to detect the virus, because the antibody takes time to develop in our body. So if you have developed that test for IgM, it will be 5 or 7 days. So if you have developed to check both IgG and IgM, then it might take 15 days to get that detected. So I do not know what kind of test you have been trying to develop, but for now, real-time PCR is the best until the virus is active. From the research, WHO and CDC has said that if you have a disease, and even though you have a virus, your virus could be present up to like 6 weeks or 7 weeks. And I have seen my patients, they have been positive for 6, 7, 8 weeks up to. But from the knowledge so far we have is after 10 days, the virus is in your body. The replicability or transmissibility of that virus is 0 at 10th day in one patient. So if your test is antibody test, that will give you result immediately. If you have IgG or IgM or both or whatever, what kind of test you're going to develop. But from the current knowledge, your test will be positive. That antibody test will be positive up to 6 weeks, and that may mislead the guideline for the treatment. So I do not know what your test is going to be, but all the best for your test, and text kit will come and it will be better. But just my 2 points on this.
No, you speak absolutely. I totally agree with you. Absolutely 100%. Of what you commented. The PCR real time is the absolute ideal test. But the reality is we don't live in an ideal world in Africa or certain part of Asia or whatever, you know, maybe an ideal world in America or Europe where they can afford such PCR, they have the expertise, etc., which these PCR live tests has only been developed recently. So it's not like, oh, we just developed this for COVID-19, it's been stockpiled. So that's the reality. So yes, PCR live is the ideal perfect test to do. So I don't want to give people the misconception, I'll just do an antibody test, that's all. No, absolutely not. But when we consulted with these African nations, we gave them all, we said, listen, you need a PCR test, which is the most accurate and can basically give you data that the person's been infected right now. The antibody, like I said, based on that, you may need the patient to be infected for 3-5 days, depending on swipe, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is the cost, the reality is the time. These people are being tested at the border. So you have to factor in the real time experience of that particular nation. They may not have a lab test sitting by the border custom with the, you know, with the border guard, etc. So you have to put together the best case scenario that can at least give them some data that they can make some sort of concrete policy. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. But it's better than nothing. And that's what we're trying to give them. We're giving them something that's better than nothing, so they at least have something to work with. But you're absolutely right, sir. What you said is 100%, and I will not go against what you said. It is 100% precise. But we live in a reality, and the reality is not based in America. The reality is not based in the UK, in which the reality is based on the front line of nations that cannot afford what other nations can afford. And we have to work to what they can afford, what is practical on their basis. But I totally agree with you. You are 100% right, totally. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leong. This is the last